Paranoia strikes deep. Into your life it will creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Satellite McHugh and takes you away. We better stop, stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going. We better stop, stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
I'm McHugh, I'm the director of the Mainstay, and I live here right outside of Rock Hall. Well, I grew up in a family where everybody performed. My father was a minstrel man and a tenor, Irish tenor. My mother played the piano for all kinds of public events. Blue collar, lower blue collar family. Father died early. I grew up in an orphanage in Philadelphia, Girard College. From there, Temple University, English major, history, double major, Army, and then a PhD at the University of Pennsylvania in historical aspects of education. First college job was at Washington College, and that's how I got here. I had 7 wonderful years at Washington College. I always tell people I learned my craft here, and it was a great time to be at that school. And I can remember I gained tenure, and then I had a sabbatical. I got the New York Times one Sunday, and in the wanted the job section, they were advertising for a chairman of 2 programs at Vassar College. I looked at the qualifications, and I said to the person I was living with at the time, there aren't 10 people in the country who have these qualifications, and I'm one of them. And it's a long story. I applied, got the job, and left Washington College, and spent 21 years, I guess, at Vassar. So I had the academic track, teaching traditional stuff, and all these music tracks. At one point, the dean at Vassar said, I'm never sure whether you're a professor masquerading as a musician or a musician masquerading as a professor. And I'm not sure myself, to tell you the truth. When I was in college, so I had a journal where I wrote, when I'm about 50, I want to stop what I'm doing and do something else. Part of it was this feeling that there's so much in the world to do. So when I got down here, I wandered around, you know, did some things. And then this guy, Tom Sable, moved into Rock Hall. And he bought up all these empty buildings on Main Street. And I said, this building was just empty. It had been a video store in its last thing. And he said, well, what could you do with this place? And I said, well, if you would kind of clean it up a little bit, we'll make a music hall. And he said, well, you can have it. He said, take it for a few years rent-free and just do what you can do. What he did was put these same plywood floors in, and he cleaned it up, repaired it, put a heating system in and an air conditioning system. And I had a sound system, which was a decent portable sound system, and we just started. And he named the building. I didn't name it the Mainstay. He said, on sailboats, on these big ships, there's a stay that holds everything together. And he said, I think it's called the Mainstay. That would be a good name, because we wanted the place to be a community thing that held everything together. So I knew that there were good local people. I knew already about Sue Matthews, you know, in those days. And then the first big name we had was Charlie Bird. That was a cold call, and asked if he would play here. And he said, how much? That was the first question. And I said, well, it's embarrassing. I said, I'm just starting this enterprise. I said, $325. And there was a pause. This is a guy who probably then, in 90, whatever it was getting like $4,000 or $5,000 for a major gig. And he said, is that for me or the whole trio? Right? And I said, that's for the whole trio. And he said, well, I'll call you back. A half hour later, he called back. And he said, I talked to Joe and I talked to Chuck. And he said, we'll do it. He said, because we all started out in those places. But he came grudgingly, and he left here the night he played. He loved the place. And yeah, I always tell people, what's not to love? I mean, it's a perfect size. almost perfect acoustics. He said on the way out the door, he said to me, you know, he said, this is a good place. He said, I'm going to see if I can help you a little bit. It wasn't a plan. Yeah, I would like to say we had a plan, but we didn't have a plan. Buddy Rich said there are only two kinds of music. This is one of the world's greatest jazz drummers, right? Two kinds of music, good music and bad music. And that's always been my philosophy. I don't care if it's a group of rappers from LA, you know, as long as they're good at what they do. We would love to be able to nurture younger people here, but to get young people in our audience is tough for us. And what my daughter says, I have a daughter 17 and one 23, and they both say, Dad, we don't like to sit passively and listen to music. We want to be standing, talking, interacting, dancing, and so I said, well, that's fine, except that's not what we do. And so there is some tension there. We're always working at that. The way we're trying to get at that is by featuring a lot of young people who play and hoping that that will attract young people who want to be like those people, which I experienced. You know. The board is, we ask people to sign the wall if they play here, and I always tell people the wall will eventually be worth more than the building because there are some famous people on that board.